Hi guys, welcome back to the Home and Homestead. If you're new to the channel, I'm Rebecca. Today we're going to be doing some gardening. So we're going to head outside and we'll do an herb garden tour. It's about midsummer for the herb garden. We were able to get that in a little bit earlier than our vegetable garden because we did some other outside projects involving the vegetable garden this year. So let's head outside and see how our plants are doing with our herb garden tour. So here you can see, just as with our vegetable garden, we did replace the framing wood and the fencing for our herb garden. It's definitely much more secure and stable, and we prefer this style fencing. It has a nice coating on it, and it's a much smaller square, so we don't have to worry about rabbits and smaller creatures getting into our herb garden, vegetable garden. So we've had a rather warm summer thus far, but we did have some nice rain over the last few days. So let's check out that rain gauge and see how much rain we did receive. So it looks like we got about 5 inches of rain over the last few days. That's a nice amount of rain. Just add that water to some plants here. And we can take a peek at our herb garden. So this year I did a variety of in-ground and container planting for the herbs. So off to the right I have a nice parsley plant here that's really filled out, and I added a cut down tomato cage so that it can kind of support the branches a little bit better there and airflow can get underneath that plant. And then off to the left here I have a nice cluster of basil. This actually was only, I believe, 2 starter plant containers worth of basil, and each one had a number of different smaller plants in there, so I just spread them out and it is filled out to be this big beautiful bush. I've been trying, as soon as these larger little groupings of leaves in the center of the basil plant start showing up, I try to pick them right away. That way you'll prevent your plant from flowering and it'll keep producing your basil leaves for harvesting. So let me just go through and kind of thin that out a little bit again. Also, when I made that tomato rhubarb soup, it was a great way to kind of thin out and harvest some of these herbs throughout the garden, and I really liked that. So if any of the basil or other herb leaves were a little bit discolored or these look a little sunburnt, I just harvested them, and now the plants have really bounced back and are thriving nicely. So what I'm going to do is continue to pick some of these discolored little sunburnt leaves here and add these to recipes, maybe make some pesto. I have a bunch of pesto in the freezer from last year. I did some basil pesto and some parsley chimichurri sauce and put that into the freezer. So this is what happens if you don't get to those little clusters I showed you earlier. You get a much taller flowering type of structure. And we want our basil plant to continue to make these nice beautiful leaves that we can use in recipes. We also enjoy making basil mojito style drink, and it's quite delicious. So instead of mint, you use basil and some different ingredients, and it's really quite refreshing. Now in the middle of the garden here I have some varying size pots for container planting. And right here I have some nice sage. And next to that we have some mint and oregano, thyme, and a small little pot of lavender. This makes a nice little cluster of herbs that otherwise, if planted in the ground, can be rather aggressive. And then I can also cover these with burlap, bring them into the garage to overwinter, and being perennials, they can come back again. Here in this other pot, I have some lemon thyme, which is a really lovely thyme variety. It has a nice lemony little scent to it. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today while we did this herb garden tour. Hope you enjoyed spending time in my herb garden and seeing the variety of plants that we've planted this year, as well as seeing how the plants are doing both in ground as well as with container planting. I did different styles and shapes and size container plants, so it's a nice visual effect for our herb garden, and it's a nice relaxing aesthetic. I really like the different style terracottas and different size and shaped containers, as well as that texture that you get with the galvanized bushel baskets. I've really been enjoying our herb garden this year. And the improvement we made with the wood trim and fencing should last for years to come. Well, if you like more inspiration on gardening or in the yard projects, be sure to check out my gardening and in the yard playlist, as well as I have a number of different playlists for recipes in the kitchen, food preservation, home decor, and organization. If you're new to the channel or haven't done so yet, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. So be sure to hit that subscribe button below and continue to watch my channel, The Home and Homestead, for some more homemade, homegrown, and home style inspiration. If you enjoy this or any other video that you watch, please be sure to give it a thumbs up as well. I hope you're having a great day. See you next time. Take care.